But here he is during our noon newscast, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell with his plan to combat homelessness in the Emerald City. Let's see what he has to say.
Despite real dedication and work from the city staff, from the ecosystem of housing developers and those providing services to those in need, we still believe that our city's existing response to homelessness wasn't where we wanted to be when I took office in January. Quite candidly, our observation, and it was my personal experience having served 12 years on the city council, that our departments continue to work in silos. There were different methods of data collection, and in my mind, there was an unclear vision on how we were going to attack this problem. Many people, of course, well-intended, but without what I would suggest is a cohesive strategic approach. A database approach is what we're trying to do under the Harrell administration. I do want to thank the city staff who've been doing this work, many of whom have been working in this space for, again, decades or years. And so we want to thank them. But we know that only real progress could be made by examining the data. Even if we run the risk of looking at the soft underbelly of a city, we have to look at the data such that we could track our progress. So today you can see the data and view our plan at homelessness.seattle.gov, which is unprecedented. And I'll share some highlights and some themes as I go on. And I have to tell you that I thought it was going to be a little warmer today, so I apologize for the weather. It looks good, but it looks better than it is. So I have the great fortune of being the first mayor to ever work with the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. We recognized early as policy leaders and as people in this space that the needs of the people who are homeless do not stop at the borders. A few weeks ago, when we talked about our approach at Woodland Park, just a few blocks from here, you saw in a real life basis our approach is always to lead with compassion, to make sure that we do our case management work first. We get to know the people experiencing homelessness by name. I've heard people describe our approach as leading with sweeps, and nothing could be further from the truth. We lead with compassion, and I think that we've made it clear in our actions. But we will continue to fund about 70% of the King County Regional Homelessness Authority's budget, around the tune of $118 million. We'll continue to do that. But it should be very clear that we've given the majority of our homelessness budget to this organization so that they can develop and communicate and execute a regional approach. What this actually means is that the issues of diversion, shelter, rapid rehousing, transitional housing services, permanent supporting housing services, and the deployment of outreach service providers reside in that organization. So I look forward to continuing our work with the CEO, Mark Dones, and their staff, and especially as we move into year 2 and develop new budgets. And I think many of you know their budget requests that they've made thus far. But I do want to thank our partners at the county and the suburban cities, the Sound Cities Association, for the work that they're doing. Under Councilmember Lewis's and Herbold's leadership, just last week we passed a resolution which might have been not as loud as some resolutions are, but it was incredibly important. And that resolution that I supported and articulated a regional vision made it very clear that as different cities pass the ordinance of their city, some of whom are not as empathetic as ours, that they realize that we need their resources too. We need their skin in the game, because our skin is in the game. And so we passed a resolution. Again, I want to thank Councilmember Lewis and Herbold for putting it forth from the city council, from their city council positions, and we got it passed. I believe it was a unanimous decision where the other regional players will realize they have to put resources in play as well. And I want to thank our county partners for supporting that as well. At the end of the day, we have to bring people indoors. We know that affordable housing is both a symptom and a solution to the homelessness crisis, and for long-term progress, we must create more housing more quickly. Easier said than done, and that's why under my administration, you'll see that we've committed to having our affordable housing project permits approved within 12 months of submission to help ensure development matches are done. This is not an expedited method by which we sacrifice quality or community input, but it's a means by which we look at our own ecosystem, our own infrastructure, our own regulatory processes and say, we can do better, we will measure it, and we'll put that on the dashboard for everyone to see. That's why we're following the same model as the unified care team that we established. In those lines, we established a newly created housing sub-cabinet. What we did is we looked at everyone in our department that touches housing. The Office of Housing, the Planning and Community Development Organization, Design and Construction, Seattle Public Utilities, City Light, SDOT, Seattle Fire Department, and I want to thank our Chief Scoggins for being here as well. That everyone that has something to do with people who are affected by our housing crisis are at the table in our housing sub-cabinet, and we get things done. We talk to each other. On our One Seattle approach, we're not fighting for turf. We're not working in silos. We realize that we are part of one city government. And quite candidly, as an employee for the city of Seattle, this is refreshing because everyone realizes we're heading down the same path. We also realize that our housing policies are linked to our public safety approach. And I'm sure many of you may have questions about this, so let's argue or examine or evaluate with data. The link between homelessness and public safety is nuanced. The statistics as we present them on the dashboard show that there are serious safety issues at encampments and for the people living in them. From January through April, there were 3,707 emergency response calls to encampments. That's 31 per day. There were 608 fires in encampments. That's approximately 5 per day. And there are over 50 shots fired or shootings that had either a victim or offender who's experiencing homelessness. We can't hide from this reality. This only reinforces our commitment to act and develop new solutions that better meet the needs of those in crisis and on the ground. That's what we're doing through Health One, through the 911 innovations we're making, our community services officers, and the development of the third department that you heard us talk about before. So what you're seeing in our plan is a very comprehensive approach.
We will continue to stream this live on king5.com. Again, the mayor of Seattle started about 45 minutes late. So as he continues, you can watch it online or on the King 5 app. And we'll have a lot of coverage on King 5 News at 4 o'clock, including our Chris Daniels, our chief political reporter, with his insight from the location as well.